Hey, so welcome to another episode of Coach's Corner. You're coaching for CX global agents and everyone else in the world from a lot of different disciplines. So we're excited. This week we have an actual CX coaching professional joining us today. And this show is brought to you by two of your favorite global CX coaches, Ian Hall and Dan McCann. And if you're not your favorite, definitely the most passionate. And as everyone here knows, we do think coaching is not only a noble, but one of the best professions where we're focused on helping people meet and achieve optimal outcomes and objectives and breaking barriers, right? By combining the mental and physical and talent capabilities through effective coaching and drive. So this week we're joined by Chris Basile. And Chris, you're AVP, and I think you told us AVP of Operations and Training at Etech stands for awesome or amazing vice president. Is that fair?
Any of the above. All
Awesome. Well, Chris, I'll give a little intro. Ian, maybe you can couple on that, and then we'll let Chris maybe introduce himself a little bit. So Chris and I first met. He was at phone.com. He was sitting in a booth at Contact Center Week at a convention, and he was talking about the impact of training and the impact of coaching for phone.com agents and the work he was doing with Etech. And he and I got a chance to meet. That was quite a few years ago. And since then, he's now moved over to Etech, and he's leading the development of both people and process at Etech for coaching. I say, Ian, anything to share before we allow Chris to even introduce himself today?
Yes, I would, because our listeners, our viewers may think, due to Chris's background, that this may have to do with football coaching. I don't think it is. Maybe it goes that way. But Chris, could you please explain the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs merchandise behind you?
I'm not a conflicted fan, but
someone lost a bet. Someone lost a bet.
That's there you go. You nailed it. Let's get to the bottom of it. So yeah, born and raised Niagara Falls, New York, a proud member of the Bills Mafia, long-suffering Bills fan. But one of our clients here at Etech is a diehard Kansas City Chiefs fan and constantly reminds me all the time on every call. Sent me this as a gift and just asked that I probably display this in my office when we're on calls together. So no conflict, but just trying to do what I can to help make sure the customer's always right. So I'm
That's
blessed
awesome
when it comes to the Buffalo Bills. So.
It Bills Mafia. And in a few weeks, we're going to have the assistant, or actually, I should say, the amazing and awesome general manager from the Bills, Brian Gain. He and I played high school football together, Chris, and we were both tight ends. And you could probably guess who was the better tight end of the two.
Listen, I have no clue. I'm sure you guys were both great.
30 years in the NFL compared to not even playing college football on my end. But yeah, so Brian Gain, he's going to join us. We were just at a show this week together at the high school talking to kids about character and leadership. And today we're going to be talking about coaching. I'm super excited to hear some of your feedback and thoughts on coaching, Chris. And it's so unique. One of the things we'd love to get started, if you don't mind sharing with everyone, what got you into coaching? Why did you get passionate about coaching contact center agents in the first place?
Sure. So starting out as in a BPO kind of industry myself as an agent, you learn what works, you learn what's successful, you have a lot of trial and error. So over 25 years in this space, I've seen a lot of leaders who think their job is just to manage, systems or processes. But what gets me fired up is that, every day we're not managing just call queues or optimizing workflows. We're trying to power human connection. For me, I love coaching because that's where the magic happens. You take someone who's just been told, well, they're just a call center agent or they're a team lead. You have to connect with them on a human level to show them that they're actually problem solvers or relationship builders or future leaders of the company. I think the moment when that clicks for them, they start to realize, well, God, I'm not just stuck in a 9 to 5. I can do something greater than myself. And I think, again, just being honest, from what I've seen over the 25 years is that traditional kind of, tough guy or gal management approach, I think is broken. I've built my career on being genuine, caring about the people that you're working with. And I think when you lead like you genuinely care and give a damn about their success, you don't just get better results, you get better employee engagement. And there's two quotes that have guided me over my time. One is by John Maxwell, They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And then Maya Angelou, which is, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what
Yes.
you did, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And to me, that has always been my guiding principle as to why coaching is so important and how you can really help people make a difference. So,
Chris, I have that Maya Angelou quote up in my bedroom, so I love that. I would love if you can expand on the coaching and the human element piece, because Etech and SimTrain are doing so much in the AI coaching space, and AI is obviously such a big impact, but and is helping to automate so many things. But that human in the loop, right, is so incredibly important for what you talked about development. Can you talk maybe a little bit about that and how it goes from, okay, AI is like I said, helping in so many ways, but that somebody caring and helping that person to succeed and better themselves. Can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah. So for me, development is what I consider your foundation. I think that's where, we're building technical skills, we're building process knowledge. It's the fundamentals that I consider it kind of keeps the lights on within your office. If you think of it as someone, trying to drive a car, you know where the brake pedal is, but do you really know how to navigate kind of rush hour traffic? And then you have that kind of like strategy and game planning. And that to me is where you separate good from great. That's where you're starting and saying with someone, okay, you've got the skills, but now how do you use them to crush your goals? Not just meet your goals, but how do you exceed? And what's your game plan for not just today, but for tomorrow and going forward? And how do we position ourselves? So for me, the talent development side of it asks, can you do your job? The strategy and the game planning is more so how will you go about owning it? Consider this as a stepping stone to something else, because you have to think it's not just about today, it's how am I going to use this to springboard into tomorrow. And I think that's, for me, one of the best parts about how we not only hit our goals, but kind of skyrocket success and bring people along and have it be because of the people and the connections that you're building.
And Chris, last week our guest was Mike Venafro. He's a talent scout for the Padres, and we were
Yep.
asking him about professional baseball and how they view the difference between personal and player development and coaching a player's skill set versus kind of game planning to win. And he said, Dan, it's kind of funny. Our organizations are actually designed specifically around that concept. It made me think about Etech, by the way, when he was talking. I was thinking about Melissa. I was thinking about how you guys are structured from, coaching around strategy and coaching around how Etech prepares individuals to become coaches and advance in their careers versus coaching an individual to perform their job task. Can you talk a little bit about the structure you guys have put together, kind of like the Padres and professional baseball organizations, to really coach for max performance and then long-term capabilities to win?
Absolutely, Mike Venafro, and I think his name was mentioned in the Billy Bean movie about the
Yes,
Oakland
it
A's.
was.
I just okay. I know that name. So
Definitely was. He was college roommates with both E and Endi, right? So
look at
he,
that. Look at
yeah,
that. Awesome. So
we know cool people like Chris Basile and others.
it's great to be mentioned in that same kind of class. But no, you're exactly right, Dan. So again, Melissa Wood being our Dean of Learning, again, obviously and I say this not because I work at Etech, but one of the best in the business. But she's developed a platform in terms of our coaching tactics and our trusted advisor program so that we're not just teaching you to go out and have a conversation with someone and have it be a kind of one time, I'm going to do a quick drive by. And again, I'm thinking back to my days 25 years ago where you'd get your tape recorder and you'd go sit next to somebody with the Y splitter and you'd listen to that call. Now
Right.
I'm using tools and technology to listen to all the calls. So I know that for a fact that this is what you're doing on all of your calls across the board. It's statistically proven, so that when I go out there, I can have be very intentional about the conversation that I'm going to have with you and how we utilize these coaching tactics that we've built in place. We know that if we need to have an accountability session, do we need to conduct a hot lap? Do I need to do what lever do I need to pull based on the situation that you are in right now? And that methodology has transcended our entire organization to now where we're all speaking the same language. We know if somebody needs direct model feedback versus a hot lap versus an accountability session. We know how to, it's just like you go in for a surgical procedure. If you come in with a broken arm, we're going to treat your broken arm. Whereas days in the past with coaching, somebody might have said, well, let's look at your ankle. That's not helping it. That's not helping the situation. And Melissa has helped to identify and put a tool and methodology in place so we can address that.
Yeah, and Ian, I've seen those methodologies and tools as a partner of Etech. They have 15 different tools in their quiver and their sack that runs around a 6-spoke coaching cycle at Etech. So it's very well thought out. It's well delivered. You know, one of the things I'm curious, Chris, just from an opportunistic point of view, is where does AI coaching fit in, where you're delivering exercises on each of those 6 spokes or any of those 6 spokes in the coaching cycle, where an individual agent can upskill and focus on specific skills for them?
So, you know, it's funny. I as we're in this AI era now, I'm listening to everyone act like, you know, AI just invented coaching technology. And
Right.
you guys have know, we've been through every wave of this, using, you know, data to help make coaching tools for decades. And I remember, again, early on, you know, in the early 2000s, you had, you know, basic chatbots, or there were companies like Verint or Nice. And you know, in the 2010s, it's kind of using Gong.io or Calabrio or Aspect. And
Yep.
I can share, and again, I can kind of take my badge off when I say this because I know I'm, you know, a member of Etech now, but I'm impressed with one of the tools that we have, which is our QEval platform. And I say this not to push something that we're doing, but I'm a 2-time former customer of Etech myself with 2 different companies. And the reason that I'm here today partly is because of what we're doing with our QEval platform. It makes a difference. It's not just recording, it's creating a complete feedback loop that is going to bridge your quality monitoring, your coaching, and then your performance improvement. And what I love about QEval, it bridges that gap that I was talking about earlier between the talent development and the strategic side of the game planning. It's going to show me who to coach, what to coach, and how to coach them. And for us, that's a game changer when we're trying to move fast. And Dan, similar to when you even talked about how the first time we met, when I sat down at that booth, you taught me within 2 or 3 minutes how to go take a call for that client on SimTrain. My mind was blown as to the possibilities and now how we layer SimTrain into the work that we're doing here at Etech. So we're practicing on our internal customers versus our clients' customers. It's absolutely been game changing over the years.
And Chris, does it get, I think you'd probably expand on that. It's an impressive product, first of all, and then all the different levels gets down to that personalized level, right? Because everybody learns differently. Everybody has different skill gaps. Everybody needs different exercises and activities to improve those skill gaps, and it gets down to that real personal level by agent, right?
Yeah, we have internally, we call it the heat map, and we could have 32 different variables across the board on any given call for any given agent. And for me, I want to go target specifically where that person is struggling. So again, when I get back into the who to coach, what to coach, or how to coach, I don't have the time to personally listen to 5,000 or 100 calls of this agent to determine that. AI is helping take that guesswork out and say 57% of the time, here's what you're doing on this call. And in this one specific instance, I know exactly how, like a skilled surgeon, I can go fix that issue.
Yeah. And Chris, what's kind of neat too is, as a skilled surgeon, right, at fixing that issue, you can give an exercise that real upskills that particular issue. And you're saying there's over 30 different variables, skill sets, behaviors, call segments, these things that you need to break down. What happens, in Etech when you're delivering in that 6-spoke coaching cycle and you're delivering specific SimTrain exercises or exercises for them to improve, and you're noticing that the individual's not improving? Maybe there's a mental thing that's holding them back, or something else other than it's just a skill. How do you overcome that, and what do you guys do at Etech?
So, and that's part of the the human connection side of it. So the tools and the technology and the data will tell us, where some of those inefficiencies or where some of those gaps are happening. Here's what it won't tell us. It won't tell us if an agent's been evicted from their home. It won't tell us if they're going through a divorce. It
Right.
won't tell us any of the personal issues or struggles that they may be having. So for us to be, and again, going back to what I said earlier, having to understand their underlying needs, being able to build that human connection with them and tie that into the fact-based data and the tools and technology that we're getting, that's where we, I think, at Etech kind of bridge that gap between the two, from being servant-led organization, taking the very best in tools and technology and tying it all together.
Yeah. And one of the things I loved in your intro, you were talking about kind of being a servant leader. You talked about leadership and coaching actually as someone who gets on top of a rung and pulls people up, or when needed, will get underneath and push them up as needed. So I think there's over 600 of those manager level coaches within the Etech organization, 612, 618,
Yeah.
something like that. And, how do you personally make sure that they're doing the right things to continue to up level and improve the performance at the individual agent level?
We have a comprehensive leadership development and continuing learning and education platform. So every time I have a chance to engage a newer leader, I remind them that, the coaching and the leadership and the development is a lot like our bank account, is that we have to make multiple investments if we're going to make a withdrawal. And for us, we feel that it's important to continually to add to our leaders' tool belt to make them better and allow them to see for themselves what potential they could have in terms of succession planning, career progression, all the above. So
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and we have a vision on the future where you got this digital coach for everyone who's completely aligned with that journey for each and every individual. Chris, I'm curious, anything that fun fact you'd want to share with our audience?
well, yeah. At one time while I was living and moving to Las Vegas, I ended up being asked to be on an episode of a television reality show called Flipping Las Vegas. So
Nice.
I earned my Screen Actors Guild card for it and was able to vote in the yearly awards. But if you're ever on YouTube and you do a search on Flipping Las Vegas mold infested house, you'll see me and my wife there.
That's
Yep.
awesome. I hope you got out of that house
We,
unscathed.
we did not buy the house, but it made it appear on the TV show that we were the purchasers of the house.
That's awesome. Hey, by the way, this Screen Actors Guild card, do you still have it and you're able to vote every year? Or do you have
I
to upgrade
do.
it?
However, it's a $7,000 renewal fee. So it was cool for the 1 year where it was free, but not cool after that.
Yeah. I'd say maybe if I'm gonna, convert that at some rate, that's awesome.
Exactly.
Hey, Chris, for our audience, maybe favorite book, favorite movie?
God, favorite book, The Four Agreements for me. It all comes down to that. I think it's one of those books where it's an easy read, talks about being impeccable with your word. And I think when you're going to model and leadership and be kind of an example to others, I think that's one of those foundational kind of books that you have to have in your repertoire to be able to pull back from. And what was the other question?
No, favorite movie or favorite book, right? You could do
Oh,
both.
favorite movie. Well, listen, I'm 100% Italian, so my cousin Vinny, anything Joe Pesci is good for me. So
My good fellas. That's awesome. Hey, Chris, look, we love our partnership with Etech. We love working with you. We think you set the example around coaching. Any recommendations you would make for our audience around coaching?
yeah, you know what I would tell people is to think outside the box a little bit. I remind people kind of the ABC, always be curious. Coaching for performance and coaching someone's potential, you have to be able to bridge that gap. And I think if you can approach somebody with genuine curiosity, you're not just asking why did you miss your numbers, or you're trying to find an understanding of what's really going on here. How are you feeling? What do you need to succeed and how to make that connection. And again, I think we've seen a shift over the years to where the successful leaders are going to play more of that role of the latter. So be curious, be genuine, be authentic.
Awesome. And I think everyone knows, obviously, Etech as a BPO, they also have a product called QEval that Chris talked about. If anyone has interest either in adding human capital or adding technology to support that human capital, you can reach out. How best can they get in touch with you, Chris or Etech?
Absolutely, etech.com, and we'll be happy to respond to any of your questions or happy to communicate with you.
Awesome. Well, we're excited that we had you here today. I can't wait to tell Brian Gain that we met one of his biggest fans, as well as the Chiefs. I mean, Bills, biggest fan from the Bills Mafia. And Chris, thanks for joining us.
If you can do a favor, see if he can re-sign James Cook. We're kind of going to need him for this year. So.
All right, I'll talk to him about it. He was talking to me this week about players that he was looking to sign and go after. So
let's go.
I don't have a whole lot of influence there, but I'll make mention of it.
I'd be remiss if I didn't end by saying go Bills. That's what we have to do with Bills Mafia. So go Bills. And Dan, again, thank you. We appreciate the partnership as well. We couldn't be more thankful to everything you guys do to support our business and our clients. It's really game changing in this industry. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, Chris. Awesome. Have a good afternoon. And thanks everyone for joining us here on Coach's Corner. Chris, thanks so much.
Thank you. You take care.
All right, take care.